We're still following Friday's bombshell news that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI during its investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. According to court documents, on December 22, 2016, a, quote, very senior member of the transition team directed Flynn to call former Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak to try to get Russia to defeat or stall a UN resolution on Israeli settlements. CBS News has learned that senior member was the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And on December 29th, Flynn called Kislyak again. That time, they spoke about sanctions against Russia that President Obama put in place because of the Kremlin's meddling in the 2016 election. Court documents say Flynn spoke with a senior transition official at President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago about the, quote, impact of those sanctions on the incoming administration's foreign policy goals. CBS News has learned that official was Flynn's deputy, K.T. McFarland. In a statement, Flynn said he recognizes his actions were wrong, that his decision to cooperate with the special counsel's office reflect a decision he made in the best interests of his family and the country, and that he accepts full responsibility for his actions. President Trump's lawyer, Ty Cobb, characterized Flynn as a, quote, former Obama administration official in response to this news. Natasha Bertrand is a political correspondent for Business Insider, and Leslie Sanchez joins us from Houston. She is a CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist. Natasha, Mike Flynn is a much bigger fish than any of the people who've so far been caught up in the Mueller investigation, who have been charged. What have your sources said this means for the future of the investigation?
Well, it's really significant. I mean, Michael Flynn was, of course, the national security advisor. He was one of Trump's top surrogates throughout the campaign. He, communicated with Sergei Kislyak more than once during the transition period about these topics, such as Russian sanctions, and then he lied about it. And he's going to be key in whether Mueller is able to determine, whether Trump obstructed justice when he fired FBI Director James Comey, and when he asked Comey if he could consider letting Flynn go after Trump was forced to resign as national security advisor.
Do we have a clear sense of where he's going, if anyone else in the inner circle may be facing charges soon?
Well, Jared Kushner is, of course, under heightened scrutiny because he was one of the first people to kind of reach out to Flynn and ask him if he would, call Kislyak and talk about this UN resolution. And then, of course, Kislyak and Michael Flynn and Jared Kushner met at Trump Tower on December 1st and talked about this alleged back-channel plan to Moscow.
Absolutely. Now, Leslie, I want to turn to you now. What did you make of the White House's response to this news so far?
It's part of a continuing pattern where the president and the White House communication shop, and certainly his private counsel, are trying to distance themselves and say there's no fire here. There's a lot of smoke, but they want to continue to deny that it has any direct connection to the president, and they're going to extend that to the president's campaign. The challenge is everything you just talked about. Now you were talking about somebody in the inner circle during the primaries, during the transition and the first days of government, and it's going to be an extremely difficult argument to make, even if it does turn out not to be the tip of the iceberg. But I will say many Republicans, especially ones I talk to on the Hill, feel that this is just an ongoing effort that's going to make extremely difficult for the president to move his agenda forward.
Yeah, and so, Leslie, what kind of political impact could this have on the president and his agenda? Is this going to take attention away from tax reform?
Well, sure. I had one high-level congressional staffer say that, we're in the fetal position right now when it came to getting the momentum to move major legislation forward, because you're asking these members who realize they need tremendous political capital to go back to their districts and feel that they're going to be successful and have something to run on in 2018. But with this cloud looming over the White House, it's going to continue to be a referendum on the president, very limited legislative achievements. And the question is going to become, did you stand with the president during this time, or as the investigation continues, what side are you on? So the political pressure is going to continue to become very dominant and very loud for Republicans, especially as we get closer to next November.
All right, now a Breitbart article that came out on Friday said White House lawyer Ty Cobb was disastrously wrong about the timeline of this investigation. Do either of you think we can expect to see a shakeup in the White House's legal team in response to this news? Natasha, let me start with you.
Trump's done it before. He has shifted around his legal team several times since he kind of became, the subject of Mueller's investigation in terms of the obstruction of justice. He brought on Ty Cobb in order to kind of be the adult in the room, in order to, portray a sense of, consistency in the whole investigation. And, he is liable to, completely just shake it up again. And so we really have to wait and see. But the fact that Ty Cobb is now being criticized by people like Breitbart and Bannon's allies really seems to indicate that, he may think twice about keeping him on.
So you wouldn't be surprised if there's a shakeup. Leslie, what do you think?
That's very consistent. I think with what we saw, especially in 2016. If there's any drama around anybody, one way to think about it, you're welcomed with a handshake and you leave with a knife in your back. I mean, it's a crude way to say it, but it really does. When the political pressure gets hot, a lot of people start moving chairs, whether they were in the campaign or now at the White House. It's not going to be the first time we see something like that happen.
All right, Natasha Bertrand and Leslie Sanchez, thank you to both of you.